Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, HJ Picks, the other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me in to recap some UFC 289, Amanda Nunes and still. And then she says, I am out. Charles Oliveira getting the dub against Beneil Dariush. Let's get into it. 11 fights to recap. One of them ended in a no contest, so really only 10 winners. A decent card. I mean, it was big for the Canadian fans for sure. But other than that, a couple good moments. The main event was pretty uneventful, just pure domination. But what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards, like there was some decent fights in there. Like you alluded to earlier when we were talking, only 3 finishes, 1 on the prelims. The no contest really put a damper on it because when you only got 11 fights and one of them ends like that, like, one of the fights, was going to probably play out on the feet most of the fight. Both guys hit hard. Something big was bound to happen and it ends like that. It sucks. And it sucks for Curtis. That's a second headbutt in a row in 2 fights. So, I mean, not a bad card, not the best card. I don't know if anybody had like real high expectations for this card. So nobody's really talking too much about the card sucking or anything. But, I mean, you get past 289, it's a crazy summer. So we got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I would say it maybe over-delivered on expectations because there wasn't very high expectations and the Canadian crowd was super into it because all the Canadians won. So that's always nice when the crowd is into it. It adds a little bit more to the fights. But overall, for the premium plays, on my behalf, I went up 1.5 units. Had a decent day. And if that no contest continues and they continue to fight, it looked like Imavov was going to cruise to a win there. So I had him on the money line and by decision. So it would have been up a decent amount more. But other than that, a couple good cashes. I hit the underdog play for 2 units. The over 2.5 in the main event was pretty much not a no sweat because they both are. Amanda Nunes was hitting pretty hard, and Aldana cracked her in the first, but for the most part, it was kind of a no sweat. Nunes by decision or KO, pretty easy one there. And then the under 2.5s for 2 of the 3 finishes on the card: Oliveira, Dariush, Mike Malott, Adam Fugit. That was a pretty easy no sweat there. And my guy Charles came through, so I was happy about that. But how'd it go for you? We had Marc-Andre Barrial too, and that was the one Canadian we were both on, and he had a good performance. So
yeah, that was my biggest play on my whole entire card, and thankfully that one hit. Man, I just had the worst night since last summer. And we were talking earlier, I had a lot of long shot plays, just hoping to hit 1 or 2 on this one for not a lot of, I mean, just a 1/10 of a unit, 0.25 units, like nothing crazy. But I was so close on like 3 of them that would have put me way up on the night. Dan Ige, round 2 KO. Maverick sub in the first round, like she had a chance, but it wasn't, real deep or nothing or close. Steve Urseg submission plus 700. I mean, I just felt like there was so many opportunities to just slip right through the fingers. But like I said, I was down minus a little bit over 4.5 units. So like I said, worst night since last summer. I never, I disperse my units in a fashion that if I lose, big time, like it's not the end of the world, or I'm not going to lose my ass or anything. And thankfully in the Discord before the Charles fight, I added Charles KO on my bookie for plus 470, which if that didn't hit, it would have been a miserable night. So yeah, bad night all around, but what can you do, man? How do you predict every single underdog except for one winning on the prelims? Like that's crazy. That is crazy. It was a night to take all dogs.
It really was, at least all the Canadians. And it's funny because in my parlay that I post every week on my Instagram, I took 3 fighters that were going against Canadians, and they all lost. So I reverse swept the parlay that I give out on my page. But I got a lot of messages and comments like, it wasn't your night. Like, shitty picks or whatever. But funny part is I was actually up money on the premium picks, and they were actually like, other than the Irichi long money line play on the premium picks, I liked all the reads. Like the ones I didn't hit, Urseg inside the distance nearly had the submission. Ige round 1 or 2 KO, almost had the KO in the second round. And then we almost hit the 6X on no house advantage, but Mike Malott had to get 2 takedowns. But the other 2 were like easy. Amanda Nunes over 2 takedowns. Ariel over 60 some strikes. He had like 90 something.
Yeah.
Almost hit the 6X there. So we were looking pretty good. Overall, the reads were solid. I'm happy about it. We're moving in to a new card next week back at the Apex. But let's recap this here. Amanda Nunes, Irene Aldana. We kind of gave the bets that we had on it. And I had a good betting fight for that one. But watching it was like, this chick is not on the level at all. Like, come on. It was it seemed like it was the Mexicans' time. Like it could be the 4th Mexican champ, and Amanda Nunes is, 1 foot out the door. But she made sure that she cemented herself as like the GOAT before she left. And she 50-44, 50-43 on one of the judges' scorecard, Irene Aldana for 5 rounds. And it didn't really look like she was in any trouble at all, other than that one little right hand in the first round, which made her take a step back. But that was about it. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, Irene Aldana, I took her for a half unit, like real small, just because of the factor that Amanda Nunes talking about retirement. 1 foot in, 1 foot out, stuff like that. I wasn't expecting to win it at all. It's just, at plus, almost 300, it was just, I had half unit. I don't really want to lay the chalk on Nunes. Let's see what happens type thing. But Irene Aldana, when she walked out, looked a little like, she was feeling the pressure. Maybe the stage was too big. And then she gets in there and she was reacting to everything. You could tell she was super uncomfortable on the feet, super uncomfortable anywhere the fight went. I just think she was scared. And, rightfully so. Honestly, you've never fought anybody like Nunes. Nunes is the GOAT. She's the GOAT. She's knocked out, Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg. She dropped Pena so many times in that second fight. So she's a bad woman. So, Aldana, not quite there yet. I think when she is comfortable, like her boxing's really good. But Nunes, man, she just played with her food all night long. And I got to thinking, and I honestly think Nunes knew she was going to retire, obviously, but wanted to just soak it up in there and get all 25 minutes out of it and showcase her skills one more time. And she did in every department: boxing, the takedowns and wrestling on the ground and pound, almost had a submission. So, hats off to Nunes. What a career. Definitely the GOAT of women's MMA. Man, she's just the best. There's nothing else to say. She's so good.
Yeah, it looked to me like Aldana was fighting not to lose, or like not to get finished. Like she wasn't ahead on any of the exchanges. She was looking to counter, and you just can't counter Amanda Nunes. Like she's got that. She was sticking that jab out there, really sharp and long, and then she'd come with the leg kicks, the stabbing kicks to the front of the knee too, to slow Aldana down. It was a really nice performance. Mixed it in well, and that's why she's the GOAT, and she's gonna be gone. So we'll see what that bantamweight title picture looks like, but it ain't looking too bright at the moment. Compared, because Aldana was the best that they could throw at her, and you could say Pena, but look at what she did to her in the last fight. Like, you're probably getting a similar thing. So maybe it'll be more competitive, but you're not gonna have that high of that bar of a talent in there right away. Co-main event, the real main event, Charles Oliveira, Beneil, Dariush. I gotta say, when this one was over, I was like, wait, there's another fight after this? Like that felt like the main event. It was literally like the crowd was as loud as it got all night, I think. Even though we'll talk about Mike Malott coming out and everything, but that was a Charles like masterclass. That's like a fight that you would envision for Charles. That's exactly what he needed to do, and he did it, and he executed it very well. I was surprised to see him like kind of pull guard to get Beneil down to the ground, because he was hitting him with some good shots on the feet early, and then they go down to the ground, and Charles is looking for legs and stuff. Beneil stays pretty safe, comes back up on the feet, hits him with that head kick, gets him up against the cage, couple more shots, puts him down, and Dariush was hurt, landed some good ground and pound because he could have easily survived that, but he was landing some big shots from on top.
Yeah.
And put him out. I was hyped. I'm sure if you follow me on the socials, you saw my reaction to it. So I was going crazy. What do you think?
Yeah, no, when Dariush is getting the ground and pound from Charles, and Dariush with that grappling pedigree he has, and he's not going for a leg, he's not trying to get up or anything. Like, he's hurt, and Charles just laid it on him. But man, I thought the grappling out of Dariush, like when he got on the ground, was going to be way more offensive and aggressive. He just kind of played in guard and landed some, decent shots. Nothing crazy at all. He wasn't really throwing anything, any big elbows or anything. He was kind of doing pop shotting him while he was on top. When it went back to the feet, Dariush looked tired, and maybe, the adrenaline got the best of him early there in the first few minutes. But when Charles is going at you and backing you up, like, he's one of the best fighters in the UFC. Like, when he's the one leading the exchanges, like that head kick, right when he landed that head kick or partially landed it, Charles just has this sense like, oh, okay, I can put this guy out right now. Like, he comes forward and he's super accurate. And that's exactly what happened. He backed him up with one good shot, and that next one just buckled Beneil. Beneil jumped on the leg, and from there, when Charles gets on top of you, regardless of what your pedigree of grappling is, it's really tough to get out of those situations. And Charles proved why everyone loves him and why he's one of the best to ever do it at lightweight. We got to see that rematch with Islam, right? There's nothing really else. I mean, you don't go and fight another guy that you finished. It's not for a title like Gaethje or Poirier. Like, you go after that big performance, round 1 KO, you got to go back up and fight Islam. There's no other option. I heard somebody saying they don't think that sells, and the one in Abu Dhabi sold like wildfire. I mean, why wouldn't you do that fight again? Especially after Islam had that razor close fight with Alexander Volkanovski and kind of gives everybody hope that he can be beat. Why wouldn't you take Charles versus Islam? I mean, that's a hell of a fight again, I think.
Yeah,
I think it plays out way different too. I think it's a longer fight.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was saying Beneil Dariush is like the toughest test for Islam Makhachev, and he just kind of ran through him. Like, Charles has been saying that wasn't him in Abu Dhabi or whatever, and it clearly didn't look like him. Like, you go back and watch that fight, like, he looked tentative, didn't look anything like him. But to go back to Beneil Dariush, I know this is easy to say after the fact, but this was like what I was thinking when I'm looking at this fight, because I wasn't that confident in Charles, just considering the last performance. Like, he didn't look good at all. And then coming in here against Dariush, who's on a big win streak. But I just looked at the opponents, and like, the last time he submitted a dude was 2019. That was Frank Camacho. And I'm like, okay, the ground game is good, but it's not a Charles Oliveira level ground game. Like, it's not that good. Maybe he can survive, but he's not going to go in there and just quickly sub Charles. Like, that's just not going to happen. He's not subbing, Scott Holtzman. He's not subbing Diego Ferreira, which is actually a solid black belt. He had Tony Ferguson in tough spots, Gamrot in tough spots, but he's not submitting dudes. He's not putting them out. And that's not even the level that Charles has been at. And then I look at his opponents on the feet. They don't compare at all compared to what Charles has been going through. Gamrot is nothing on the feet. Tony Ferguson hasn't won a fight since 2019 or something. Diego Ferreira, decent on the feet, but he's not like some insane crisp striker he just knocked out Michael Johnson, but even then it's like they were on the ground for most of the fight. Scott Holtzman, like, these guys just aren't on the level that Charles has been fighting at. So that was like the hardest part for me, because there's so much narrative around Beneil Dariush is going to run through him. And I couldn't buy it. Like, I was hearing it and it was making me tentative about having like good faith in Charles to win this fight. But I'm like, really? Like, are we just forgetting what Charles did before the Islam fight? Like, come on, guys. And I was let it all out after that fucking win. I was happy.
Yeah, you got to go with your gut. And I mean, obviously you felt it all week. And why not jump off, the fighter you want to win if you have that gut feeling like that, and it paid off. I mean, dude, Charles, looking back, like, Charles at plus money is like almost a no-brainer at this point. Like, if you're going to get him at plus money, like, you almost have to.
Seems like it. We'll keep it moving though. Mike Malott, Adam Fugit. Mike Malott almost getting taken out by the bleachers on him coming out, but I was expecting Mike Malott to have like some really slow walkout. But then the bleachers come out, and it looked like he was just like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta get to the fucking cage because the chaos just broke out there. He looked focused. He came out. I had a good first round, and then we get to round 2, and maybe the questions start to come out. Is he going to start to fade? Did not fade. Hit him with the 1-2, made his head go both sides, and then dropped him. Hits the gilly and mounts him. That was a nasty gilly too. That was,
yeah.
like
That Team Alpha Male
head off, man. Like cranking on the neck. That was nasty. But damn, that guy's good. Guy's good.
Yeah.
He's a little. I don't want to say like. He's got the people call him like Michael Chandler-esque, like the Canadian Michael Chandler, because he's like talks really theatrical and he like talks up a lot of stuff. So it's like a little bit cringy, but like the guy's good. He's definitely got some really good skills on the ground and the feet, because in all of his fights, he's looked good on the ground and the feet. What do you think?
Yeah, no, super well-rounded. And this fight from Mike Malott was make or break. Like, you're beating the guys you should beat, obviously. You're getting Adam Fugit, who just knocked out Kinoshita, who had a phenomenal performance on Contender Series. So this is like your first tough test in Canada. Home crowd, adrenaline, everything. Like this, if you don't pull this off, some of that hype kind of goes away. But you go out there and you knock him out, in the second round like you did, it's perfect scenario for him. You got the home crowd behind you. You just gained a bunch of fans because you're one of the only finishes on this card. Everybody's talking about it. And then you go out there, you knock the guy down with a punch, and then you submit him. You showcase your whole skill set. That was great for him, man. I think he's got the goods. I think he's going to be very, very good going forward. And I know his record, like he doesn't have a ton of pro fights, and we haven't seen him that much in the UFC, but this guy has been around for a long time. They were talking about how long he's been coaching at Team Alpha Male, like the jiu-jitsu coach at Team Alpha Male. Like this guy's got a world of experience outside the octagon in mixed martial arts. So I think he's got a really bright future in the UFC.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. Dan Ige, Nate Landwehr, I think this fight kind of disappointed. I'm not gonna lie, because it was Ige looked really good, but Nate looked like he was just outclassed in every facet. And if it's gonna be a fun fight for Nate Landwehr, he's got to be like kind of on the upper hand at some point, and he just never was. He kind of started to turn it on in the third round, but it was just way too late. Dropped the first 2 rounds, got clipped in the second round, and just was never ahead in anything, really. I mean, he wasn't ahead in any exchanges. And Ige was just looking like he'd been in the top 15 forever, because he has. And he didn't look like he kind of humbled Nate. It's like there's levels to this, man. But I mean, what do you do with Nate Landwehr, moving forward? Do you give him fun fights, or do you give him another crack at the top 15 or something? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give him a guy around the top 15, I think. And, a matchup of maybe just another brawler, like somebody like Ige, maybe not quite as, polished or that much UFC high caliber experience. Just match him up with somebody who's, trying to climb the ranks too. I think Ige maybe was just like a, I don't want to say a big jump, but just kind of a bad stylistic matchup. Like a guy who will stand and trade with you big shots and probably hits harder than you, is pretty accurate. But I mean, also, I think for Landwehr, he's been in some of these wars, like David Onama getting dropped, dropping Onama, back and forth, just crazy, crazy fights. And with guys like Ige, like that's not the fight you want at all, because Ige will knock you out. And I think he felt that power in the first, and then just kind of was a little hesitant to stand in the pocket and just trade shots like he normally would. And, his big moment just never really came in the fight. And Ige had another one in the second, and it was doing good work in the third too, at the first half at least. So, yeah, like you said, I think he was just a little outclassed. Wasn't your typical Nate Landwehr fight. I think everybody had, like you said, huge expectations for an all-out war that just never came, and Dan Ige fought pretty well. So props to Ige, man. He went on that losing streak to high-level guys, and then now he's kind of, fighting back down. These guys that are ranked, Damon Jackson, Nate Landwehr, and he's starting to get wins again. So I think going forward, Ige, he's got a little confidence now.
Yeah, he's always like a slow starter. Nate Landwehr is. It seems like he's got to get just cracked on the feet to like start doing anything. I'm like, dude. And that's literally what he did. He got knocked down in the second round, end of the second round, and then comes out in the third round and actually has a good third round. But yeah, you're
I
not
wish
gonna.
he had I wish he had a little more UFC experience, and he'd be the perfect fight night main eventer. 5 rounds of Nate Landwehr.
Yeah, 5
Like,
rounds. He needs 5 rounds. Like that's how.
yeah,
It's like he's gonna drop the first round, and if you're safe in the second round, you probably take that one too. So it's like,
yeah,
Nate kind of needs 5 rounds, or he just needs to like start to break you. You're not gonna break a guy like Dan Ige. He's never been finished, durable. Like looking back on it,
yep.
should have hammered Ige. Marc-Andre Barrios, Eric Anders. That first round knockdown from Mark, that was I thought he was gonna put him out early, considering all the Canadians were on fire. But Eric Anders comes back. Decently contested fight. None of the rounds were like overwhelming for Marc-Andre Barrios, but I definitely thought he won at least 3. All 3 of them, at least 2 at the very, very least. But Eric Anders was kind of doing the same stuff that we kind of both thought he was going to do. Look for takedowns, probably not get them. And then in the striking, Barrios just going to outstrike you in almost every fight. So he came out there and got the job done by decision. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I feel like we called this fight to a T, like perfectly.
Yeah.
Like you said, the takedowns, getting stuffed. Barrio landed some great shots on the feet, and that's why they call him the power bar. Last night, I mean, that's the exact reason. He fights for all 3 rounds. He can take shots. I mean, Anders hit him with some really good shots in that fight. It just with Barrios' shots, they did a little more damage, and they stopped Anders in his tracks and snapped his head back more. Like he definitely looked way better to the judges, in my opinion. The one thing that I didn't see coming was Anders, like his gas tank got a little bit better. I think he was in really, really good shape last night, because there were times in the third round he wasn't backing down. He was still throwing with some heat too. But other than that, Marc-Andre Barrios looked pretty damn good. He's a fun guy to watch. He might not get a knockout every time, but he's trying. He's in there and he's hitting dudes. So fun fight.
It's just the activity on the feet. It's always fun.
Oh yeah.
And he's never like, he doesn't really shell up. Like he'll just throw with you. But it's not like wild where it's uncalculated or anything, but he's just down for a good scrap. It's fun to watch. Imavov, Curtis. We touched on it earlier, but Imavov was piecing him up on the feet. Looked like it was going to be another long night for Chris Curtis. Even got 3 takedowns in the first round. Imavov did. First guy to ever take down Chris Curtis. Something we haven't really seen from Imavov either. I mean, he's more of a standing kickboxing type, even though he is from Dagestan, but he trains in France. And looked like it was going to be a decision win for him, because Curtis pretty durable. Goes in for a little right hand, and then boom, second head clash in a row for Chris Curtis. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, man. Chris Curtis, being at 185, like he's always going to have that size disadvantage. And for his style, like wanting to get in tight and showcase that boxing, like in close quarters, just isn't going to work out for him a lot of times at 185. We saw it against Jack Hermanson. Even Kelvin, who was like his size, had the range down way better than Curtis in that fight. And guys who are 6'3", like Imavov, who are fast, like he looks so fast on the feet. It's just not good matchups for him there. And I know he's like a really big, stout dude, so like 170 would be really tough. But being 5'9" or 10 at that weight class, like, can you imagine him versus Izzy?
Yeah, that'd be.
I mean, unbelievably bad matchups. I mean, there's not really any good matchups in the top 10 to 15 for Chris Curtis. So yeah, it sucks, man. He's got a ton of knockouts on his record. He's a fun fighter. Like he'll trade with you. But yeah, taken down like that after never being taken down in the UFC, stuffing 22 of Rodolfo Vieira's takedowns in a fight, and Imavov was getting it done for sure. He was cruising to a victory. Imavov was. I'm fairly confident in that.
Yeah, I don't think Chris Curtis expected him to go for the takedowns at all.
Yeah, right.
He probably thought this guy's going to try to stay at distance, and he mixed it in well. I think he had a good game plan. He's hitting those leg kicks from the front, just kind of keeping him at distance. And then when Curtis would shell up, he just hit him with a good one too. Get the judges to like what they're seeing on his side. So yeah, I think he cruised to a decision, but Chris Curtis is always live for a good knockout. So I, can't completely ride it home. Miranda Maverick, Jasmine Jasdavicius. I'll let you take the ropes on this one.
Yeah, Jasdavicius looked really good, man. I was telling you earlier, she fed off the crowd really well. You could tell when they'd start going louder, she'd land a big shot. Like, she'd get aggressive. She didn't fade at all, even with, the grappling exchanges. She looked strong in there. She looked big, too, compared to Maverick.
Yeah.
Her boxing is getting better, too. Like, her boxing is getting a lot better, and you mix that in with a solid grappling game. Good, on the ground, she was very good with her control, her top pressure. When Maverick had the arm bar or had the arm in, Jasdavicius was well aware of where to place her knees, where to move her body to, kind of save herself really from getting in a really bad situation. So hats off to her, man. Impressive, especially for a big dog.
Yeah, she got good top pressure for sure. I mean, she's freaking huge for 125. She's what, like 5'8", 5'7", somewhere in there. Yeah, strong, long. She could be a problem. And coming through as a pretty big dog there. Zahabi, Ariel Helwani getting the first round KO. Shout out to Ariel. Little left hook to the chin. That screws the free play for us. I mean, we were on three cards in a row. We gave out the free play winner, and we had to reach along this week. And that was the breaking point for us. Shouldn't have gone against the Canadians, But what it is, Richie Long had never been KO'd before that. And I think I jinxed him in our exclusive show because I said that. And I knocked on wood here, but I think it's fake wood. So sorry about that, Richie Long, and sorry to anyone that tailed. But yeah, pretty good left hook from Zahabi. That's about all there you could really say about that one.
Yeah. I mean, Zahabi, I said it in the preview show too. Like, Richie Lang is going to be the better striker and athlete, but just can't get caught. And he got caught. So that's all there is to it. Happens.
Yeah. Minute in. Kyle Nelson, Blake Builder. Blake Builder, I don't know what's going on, brother, but dancing when you're down probably down 2 rounds. I mean, I thought Blake Builder won the first round. I don't really like DC was talking about how Blake Builder got caught at the end of round 1. I'm like, I don't know, he looks fine to me. And he outstruck him like 40-10 in the first round or something like that. So I thought it was probably 1-1 going into the third. And then Blake was winning. He was going for the takedown. He had some cage control. And then it went to the feet, and he was just not hitting him. He would just get hit. And then he would dance or something. I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're getting hit and you're not throwing anything back. And this is probably the most important part of the fight. And you're literally just taking shots, kicking the air, and not doing anything. I'm like, all right, well, there goes that. That's how the prelims went. So basically, Blake Builder lost 30-27s on 2 of the judges' scorecards, I believe. Yeah, 30-27. So I guess they all saw round 1 for Builder, but yeah, not a good performance for him. Kyle Nelson get the dub though.
Yeah, the Canadians, man. And that's another fight where Kyle Nelson looked way bigger than Blake Builder in there. I just think Blake Builder, with the kicks and everything, he just couldn't find the range, especially late in the fight when you're tired. And Kyle Nelson, the monster, just coming right forward and landing some good shots of his own. So, yeah, kind of close fight, kind of, a letdown for Blake Builder, especially being a minus 200, minus 250 favorite. Kind of sucks, but he's young at least. Hopefully he bounces back, but he looks small. He looks small in there.
Yeah. David Dvorak, Steve Urcheg. Steve Urcheg getting the upset there by decision, unanimous decision. I thought David Dvorak won the first round, and then Urcheg hit him with a good shot in the second round. Almost got the gilly. And then the third round, it looked like he just kind of took over. And coming in there, short notice, unranked, debut against a ranked guy, Dvorak. Pretty good performance for him. What'd you think?
Yeah, Dvorak looked good in the first round, but that shot that Urcheg landed in the second, that kick almost wrapped around the back of his head and just dropped him. It was a beautiful shot. Urcheg, though, I didn't know how to feel about him coming into this fight in his debut and what he was going to look like, but he looked good. He looks like he's ready for this level for sure. I mean, especially if you beat a guy like Dvorak, who was on a 16-fight win streak before his 2 losses. So, yeah, man, he's good. I had him by sub plus 700. And he had that guillotine in. I was hoping he'd finish it, but David Dvorak's good on the ground and he's tough. So, but overall, it's a great win for him. I can't really argue with the decision. But yeah, another underdog cashes on that card.
Yeah, I was a little wary about him on the feet with Dvorak because Dvorak is pretty fast, got good striking. And I was impressed with Urtek. Yeah. He looked fucking good on the feet. Like kept the pace with Dvorak and landed some good kicks, mixed it in well. Good performance for him. Diana Belbita, Maria Oliveira, the one to kick us off. Belbita getting a win in her adopted home country of Canada. And it was kind of a disappointing performance from Maria Oliveira. She didn't look good.
She looked slow, man.
She looked really slow. She looked like the cardio might not have been there too. Like after like 3 minutes into the first round, it looked like she was just not moving her feet. Like she was just doing the duck away, try to avoid that right hand and then come back with something. And it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she was looking for that knee like the whole fight and she had kind of got it in the last like 20 seconds, but
after 10 attempts,
way too attempts, way too long of a wait to go after it. And Belbita coming through. I thought she pretty much dominated most of the fight. What do you think?
Yeah, no, she definitely did. She just looked better. Like Maria Oliveira looked uncomfortable on the feet, whereas she usually will just march forward and land decent combinations. But she looked so slow last night. Like I couldn't get it out of my head. And Belbita, stayed pretty tight and composed and landed some good shots. And those knees, those flying knees, if you get one to kind of land, just try it 10 more times. Hope for the best for Oliveira. Belbita wasn't having none of it though. She was eating them on the hands. She's just blocking them easy every time. But yeah, I mean, both girls were one win in the UFC and like 3 losses. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where either one of them goes. Maria Oliveira probably back to the regional scene. And Belbita, you give her another fight like that to open a card, probably.
Yeah.
She's got the looks, though. She's got the looks, so she might get her some points with Dana.
Probably no like footwork at all from Maria.
Yeah.
Like she's just standing in front of her and trying to move her head, not really working. Like she could dodge the first one, but the couple after that were like she was getting clipped. It was bad.
Yeah, she throws like with her feet. I don't know, like she's like squared up to the opponent. Yeah. Like she didn't use her hips. I don't know. It's weird. It's all arms with her.
Yeah, it's not a traditional like stance. It's very open. She leaves a lot open, like forward. You mostly want to like stand to the side, so you're not as much surface area showing. But yeah, who knows? That's why stay away from women's MMA.
Yeah,
you never really know what version you're gonna get from these chicks coming out here, especially that low level. Well, that's the recap. UFC 289 in the past now, and we're looking forward to UFC the Vegas 75.
75.
We got Vettori, my brother Vettori, coming out against Jared Cannonier. So in the main event, it's actually a decent card. I was looking at it today. There's some decent fights on it. But it is an Apex, event, so they're gonna throw a lot of contender series guys, not like super high level, but I think some fun fights at least. Hopefully they bring it coming into the Apex. But at the Double Leg on all the social medias, you can follow us there to stay up to date with everything that's going on throughout the week for all the short form content, and you can join the Double Leg Premium to get in on our bets moving forward. You can follow me on all the medias at HeyJivePicks. Where can they find you?
On Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, the Parlay MMA.
All right. Till next time in the breakdown for UFC Vegas 75, the Double Leg signing out.